Welcome to Zero Authority. We are freeholders. We are a community of hodlers covering topics in the Stacks ecosystem and the broader crypto world. This is our Built on Stacks, secured by Bitcoin series, where we talk to the builders who are dedicated to creating the next generation of permissionless, open source, and decentralized applications on Bitcoin.
Earn interest on your Bitcoin. The Automated Liquidity EXchange, or better known as ALEX, is an open-source DeFi protocol built on the Stacks, secured by Bitcoin, and modeled on the world's financial markets. Partnering with Stacks allows ALEX to access the liquidity, power, and safety of Bitcoin's $1 trillion blockchain. Stacks makes Bitcoin a programmable base layer, enabling decentralized apps and smart contracts that inherit all of Bitcoin's powers. Upon launch, you can lend your BTC and earn fixed or variable interest. Borrow BTC without risk of liquidation. Mitigate risk with BTC short positions. Maximize upside with BTC leveraged long positions.
Chinda and Rachel, thank you so much for joining Zero Authority today. How are you guys?
Well, good. Hi, Z. How are you?
Doing well. How are you, Rachel?
I'm good. Feel very good to be here.
Interesting developments with Alex. Can you guys tell me how you started and where the project is going today?
So how we started is a very interesting story. So Rachel has a math background. I have, I would say, a financial engineering type of background, and we always wanted to do something together. Both of us were Wall Street veterans, so we both have, Rachel has a young son, and I have two teenager kids, and Wall Street could be gruesome for women like us who want to have it all, right? We want to have family, we want to have kids, but we also, we are well educated and we are also ambitious. So we always wanted to find a project that we feel like on the one hand, we are intellectually stimulated, but on the other hand, we can also have that kind of degree of freedom that, we can go and make lunch for our kids. So we have been pivoting a lot about our idea of what kind of business so it's all Rachel's idea, by the way. In the beginning, she said we should do some online courses for, particularly because of pandemics. We should make really high quality online education for investment. And then we also wanted to do a quant hedge fund together. Actually, Rachel started quant hedge fund. But then finally what she told me, she said, look, my passion is crypto. And at that time I was like, what is crypto, right? And then she really educated me and completely converted me. I think I'm just becoming so, I wouldn't say religious now. I just completely believe that this is really the technology that is going to change, the society over the next decades and centuries. So that's how we started this project, ALEX. So ALEX stands for Automated Liquidity EXchange. But interestingly, it's also Rachel's son's name. His name is Alex. And again, I'm talking so much, you have to stop me. Rachel, you say the story about Alex, how we came up with Alex's name.
You name Alex. Alex.
I named Alex. But remember why? Do you remember why?
Yeah, I think, Chente always saying we should leave some legacy to the world, and we have been working in the investment bank for so many years, but really nothing really left. She wrote a book. She's a professor, and she has this. We always talk about her book and next book, but then we came to the crypto world. We find this is so interesting. This is really dream come true place, because when you're in the real world, you say, hey, we have been working in the investment bank for so many years, but can you really own a bank, or can you really build a bank or build an insurance company? It's probably, you cannot, right? By your like two of us, two women, we can really not build a bank in the real world. But with the crypto, we see that possible. And we see that is really something dream can come true, and we can provide it so good new technology and financial service to people who Chente always talking about in Africa, in Southeast Asia, those poor people who cannot open bank accounts, but we can give them a wallet and support them with all these financial services. So that is really a dream come true place. That's how we started this project, and why she named the project as Alex. It's really amazingly good name. I'm sorry, Alex, I have to say it's a good name.
Yeah. And then Z, when Rachel talk about Africa, right? My husband comes from Senegal, by the way, and so my mother-in-law still lives in Dakar, and I always like to say, one reason why Rachel helped me to understand the use case of Bitcoin, for example, and DeFi is that every time when we transfer money to my mother-in-law, use Western Union, right? It would take at least 10 days for her to get the money, but also they charge 12%. And you just don't understand why, right? My mother-in-law, Senegal is not it's not a terribly rich country. And the young generation often lack of the job opportunities. So as sad as it is almost part of it is a trickle-down economy. So my sibling-in-laws, and my husband, they will transfer money to my mother-in-law on a monthly basis. Then there are 500 families in Senegal, basically directly financially dependent on my mother-in-law's check, right? So if she doesn't give them the money, the kids can't go to school, for example. But then, you just think about there's this centralized, inefficient institution. I don't know how many middlemen or middlewomen in between, so that when $100 we transfer, it becomes just $88. I just don't understand why. So I think that's number one. Suddenly, you just realize, DeFi or blockchain or Bitcoin or smart contract, using stacks, smart contract, build the DeFi on Bitcoin, can be ultimately the almost perfect answer to the future of finance, future of banking. So that's our vision behind. We want to build the full financial world anchored on Bitcoin because of its security, also because of the beauty of design as a perfect form of money. And we want to build the whole financial world on Bitcoin via stacks. That's Rachel and my vision. And these banks belong to the community. Everybody have access to it. Doesn't matter your color, your gender, or you can access to banking service via Alex. So that's our vision.
Everything you just said just really resonates. Wow. I was working on a startup 5 years ago, and I was in the same situation where I was sending Western Union, and then I saw Bitcoin come around, and I thought this is going to completely change the world. Because, not to say, I think some institutions are still important, but the peer-to-peer, being able to get the person that money directly in a digital format, this is the most sound money Bitcoin is, and building on top of that makes a ton of sense. And
yes, I want to tell you that this is a love letter to Rachel. I always wanted to find a woman to share a job. At that time, so it's a job. Investment banking, a job can be like 18, 20 hours. I always want to find a woman. I never found a woman who is willing to share a job with me. Now we're sharing the job really pretty seamlessly. You agree, Rachel? Is that we have each other's back, right? Okay. This is my love letter to Bitcoin and my love letter to stacks, okay? I was talking to a friend last time, what separates us, human being, to other species is that we can imagine, right? We have the power of imagination. We were imagining we could do space travel, right? Etc., etc. And other species really couldn't do that. And then you think about what is money. Money is really a collective imagination, right? We all imagine that this unit or this numeraire is going to be our collective a unit of exchange or tool of exchange. So we need to collectively imagine this. And now if you look at the Bitcoin, what is Bitcoin, the blockchain, right? I think is the most well-designed, most beautiful way of property right? An artist, she wrote a piece of music, right? It will be on the ledger so that very clearly she has a property right, and every time when we consume it, we have to pay her royalty. That's why, you know, all these artists coming onto the blockchain. Money is ultimately property right. That's why Bitcoin is such a beautiful, me, is a genius innovation that number one, it has this very clean, very transparent property right record. And number two is disinflationary or deflationary. There's only a certain amount of Bitcoin is going to be there. So that's really the perfect combination of the current, present, or future of money. Number one, we collectively imagine this blockchain technology is here for us to adopt. Number two, the clear property right. And number three is deflationary. What else can you ask? There's no other competition in form of money can be so perfect. I know it sounds very ambitious, but we are doing this and we have done the majority part of it. Is that Alex is a financial world built on Bitcoins via stack smart contract. We have, for example, Launchpad, where our cohort can come to launch the tokens. Like that's what Rachel said. She and I want to go to IPO a company, right? We might have to wait for 10 years, right? To have a return of 22% of a company, people won't IPO us, right? But you have a Launchpad. Any project can launch their token on our platform. So that's one marketplace. The second marketplace is exchange, right? We have those exchange. You can exchange your token, USDC, Bitcoin, etc., etc. So that's one part of the Alex creating is marketplaces. The second part is about the instrument, right? So Rachel and I, we are one of the first to create fixed rate lending borrowing. And we are one of the first to create a borrowing without the liquidation risk. And then Rachel can explain to you, but she's a math girl here. So that's what the financial instrument about. Really the basic financial instrument is that you get a CD, right? You get a fixed rate. You want to say, okay, my Bitcoin after 3 months, I get so much interest, right? Fixed. Right? And then the third part is the leverage. And that's what we are creating as well. We have the leverage that people can do margin trading, yield farming, etc., to start getting the whole financial world on Bitcoin, a true DeFi that works on Bitcoin via stacks. So that's what Alex is about. And we have pretty much built most of it. And we are launching our testnet on 27th of September.
Yeah, I want to add a little bit about why we choose stacks and why we want to build on stacks and we finally want to get to Bitcoin. I think we come from the financial conventional financial world, and we want to build a DeFi project. So the two very important things for us to look at is the first thing is the security. For us, security is the most important thing. Without security, nothing exists. So security is very important. And what is the most security blockchain on the world? That is a Bitcoin. And the stacks is the layer one blockchain built on Bitcoin. So that is the first thing we look at, and then find stacks is the thing that we are looking for. And the second thing is we're looking for liquidities. Then what is the first choice of liquidity? Bitcoin has 1 trillion liquidity on the world, which is 3 times of Ethereum. That's why we very naturally come to Bitcoin, and we're trying to build on Bitcoin to generate the liquidity. So I think that is a very two important factor that we come here to build on stacks and trying to be the first DeFi on Bitcoin.
I didn't know that Stacks 2 would come this far, this fast, and seeing Alex and talking to Philip from MarketDeco and Wilson from Block Survey, I'm just blown away by the decentralized applications that everyone is building here. As far as the future in 5 years, can you guys tell me what that looks like when people are using the automated market makers on Alex, when they're doing swaps, when they're lending their Bitcoin? Will it be native Bitcoin? Will it be some type of wrapped Bitcoin?
I think yeah. 5 years from here is really far, to be honest. I think we normally say like one day, like 1 year in Bitcoin world, right? So 5 years is like, I don't know what's gonna happen. Chant is always saying DeFi, CeFi eventually will become a FI. So I don't know if in 5 years you will become a FI or what, but you mentioned about wrapped Bitcoin or native Bitcoin. That is something really many teams on the Stacks community are working on it. Now we have some collateralized type of Bitcoin used on Stacks, and I know there are teams are really working on different types of how to use Bitcoin more natively on Stacks. That is something we really want to work with the other teams to crack it. And I believe no need 5 years, maybe 5 months. That
will come. Yes.
Yeah, you will come and you will be ready. And eventually that's where we see the big flow, the big liquidity come to Stacks, come to Alex platform. In terms of the user experience of AMM and lending and borrowing, I would say nowadays we are a project really focusing on UI UX. Chante always tell people we want to be the Robin Hood of a DeFi, but we don't know now the market likes Robin Hood or not. But Robin Hood do have a very, very good user experience. We want to have this best user experience for our users, because when you look at the traditional DeFi projects, it's I couldn't find a good word for it, but it's really just no user experience. It's very difficult to use. You need to connect to wallet, you need to do this and that. It's just not very natural. We are trying to make it very smooth. So if you look at our UI design, I don't know if Chant has shared with you about that or not. We really come up with, we want to give the DeFi user the CeFi kind of experience, like Coinbase, like Binance, like those. So if you're using AM and you may not even feel you're using a DeFi, it will be so smooth and you will have all the information you need. For lending and borrowing, we really want to give our users, like when you go to a bank, you deposit some money, you buy a CD, then it's just as smooth as that. You don't need to think too much. You don't need to calculate a lot and look at this and that. We just want it to be very straightforward.
Very standardized and familiar. That's what, no, so just add, there's not much for me to add because Rachel elaborated really, really well. But I just want to, talk a little bit. I mean, we could talk a lot about, again, our imagination, right? I think 5 years, I actually, before Rachel joined, you remember we were talking about the whole talent, right? So Rachel, we were talking about when in the very beginning, like 1998 or beginning of 2000, we were trying to hire really good quants, and we couldn't compete with a hedge fund, right? So you train them 1-2 years, they all went to hedge fund. And then afterwards is that we couldn't compete with Google and Facebook, right? All the talent wanted to go to Google and Facebook. But now we know where the talents are. They don't want to work for Google or Facebook. They want to work in crypto, in DeFi, and other decentralized applications. So I think that's a big trend we could see. And if you look at this big trend, usually it takes a decade, etc., or even 2 decades, right? To have this half of the cycle, right? And we are really just in the beginning of this. So if we extrapolate this trend, what can we see in 5 years? As Rachel said, actually you told me that in the very beginning as well. You said there will be certain use cases that we need this kind of institutions, right? But most cases where you can replace human being or some centralized entity with smart contracts, and that's becoming much more cost efficient, transparent, as well as fair, it will happen, right? If you look at the moment, the banking services completely overblown, overbloated with legal compliance, IT, etc., etc. There's just no way anymore to grow. So those kind of services, again, if one can, accomplish that, offer to the users through smart contract, it will happen, and it is happening, right? So that's number one. Number two is really about the inequality of the society. Because of so many different financial crises we have experienced, and central banks all over the place, is going through this huge monetary policy easing. And what happened is that, again, the income distribution become more and more bimodal. Rich become richer because money leverage are so cheap, and people, 1.7 billion people who don't have banking, they are becoming poorer and poorer and poorer, right? Now, there are only two outcomes. One is we are going to have a, very, political uprise, or we can imagine a world that the technology, blockchain technology such as Bitcoin, is going to solve this problem. And that's the outcome I see.
For Bitcoin and for crypto assets, is there was this narrative of unbanked people, and now that we exist in this world with lots of money printing and lower yields, it's also becoming a place where you can find yield. So now people that are unbanked, they can actually have their digital property, but then people, regular middle-class people, and even high net worth individuals, they can find yield in crypto assets. And I think that's fascinating.
Yes, exactly, because there's a use case, right? If you look at US dollar or euro, right? Dollar or euro, there's two major currencies. If you put your dollar into your bank account, I don't think you get any interest right now. Actually, if you were in Switzerland, you had either dollar account or euro account or Swiss account, right away the bank charge you. So it's become a penalty that you have those kind of cash, right? And that says a lot about how the whole efficient market think about the worthiness of dollar and euro. Whereas if you look at USDC, and Rachel knows this crypto market so much better than me. Rachel, like USDC, you can get the annualized return about what, 3-4%, right?
I think USDC and the Compound just rolled out a fiat dollar saving plan, which offers 4% per annum for fiat dollar holders. That is way better than less than 1% US dollar savings in the banks. So that's really, as you said, it's very, very good yield for casual users who couldn't invest like stocks, or they don't have the skills. That is really a good way to put their money in.
I think it's very hard right now still to get people to download a web wallet, be able to sign a transaction, and then have the confidence to know exactly what they're doing. How do you guys think about educating people to use the Alex platform?
The good thing about Stacks is Stacks has only one wallet, so you don't need to bother to download this and that and choose in between and etc. So it's pretty clean. So you just use a Stacks wallet, then you're done with it. For Alex, we are really, again, I keep repeating myself, bragging about our UI UX design. It's really we giving the familiar face that you have been using on your mobile app for, I don't know which bank you're using now. I'm using HSBC. So when I look at my Alex app, I should look something similar, like I deposit my money here for 3 months or 1 year, how much interest I should get. And then one button goes in and it's done. And after 1 year, I should have some notification. Your deposit is going to expire soon. You should do something, and blah blah blah. And for us, and like the trading page, AMM page is really like I'll say Robinhood or Coinbase, and you go in, you look at the pair you want to buy stacks, and you put in you don't even need to put in the amount you need. You just you can press the max. You can buy the max amount you have in your wallet, or you can buy 50% of your wallet, or etc. It will be super easy to execute, I would say. We have bring the best manpower with the best experience on UI UX to really design in a very human way.
Yeah, I like that. I think it's fascinating. On your website as well as exactly what you said is think of it as compounder Aave with technology like Uniswap or Balancer. And so it sounds like you're also, when you make a deposit into a vault, or you're also going to get the AY token, for example, that represents that you have made that deposit.
Wow, you really read our docs. You even talk about AY token. I'm so impressed. Thank you.
Well, if you guys are going to take the time to speak with me, at the very least, I can go through your docs, read what you're doing on Twitter.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much. But the AY token part is really actually the key part of our technology. That's where we offer the fixed yield with fixed terms. So yeah, we talk about you can compare us as a component app using Uniswap technology, but having the Robinhood user experience. We're just trying to make people have a better vision about us, but really we are very different from Compound and app. They only provide overnight rate. They call variable rates. So their rate is really changing every day. They cannot offer a fixed rate for depositing. That's not allowed in their technology. But we are, because we have this AY token, so we can really make a, I'm sorry, I don't want to be too techy, or I don't know how to explain. So we are really using the zero coupon bond pricing structure to get to the deposit rate for fixed terms. For example, I always say this, for example, say after 3 months, you have a deposit matures at 100 today. What the price of your deposit, if the interest is 10%, so basically is around like $90 for today, the deposit. That's a thing we're trading. This is basically the 90 is the price of the AY token. So that's how we do it. We put the AY token's price into automated market maker to let people trade it. So there will be supply and demand. Then we use market driven to price the AY token, then imply back to the fixed terms rate. So that's how basically the technology of it. So when you look at it, we are not really like a compound app. They are more like a commercial bank kind of offering. They offer deposit and borrowing. So there will be a spread of it. They charge the spread price of it. We don't do that. We charge the transaction fee. At each AY token being transacted, we charge the transaction fee. So we say we're more close to Uniswap is because Uniswap is more transaction based. We are also more transaction based, and our transaction technology is really on the AMM curve. And also
actually, yeah.
Sorry,
Rachel, you just gave me an idea of how to explain AY token. AY token is the ticket to time machine for money. Right?
That's better than my.
Isn't that great? But she gave me the idea because what is discount factor, which is really the engine of this zero coupon bond Rachel talked about, is about the value of money price in different time, right? So AY token really represent the price or the ticket price of travels through time.
That's correct.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
We should write it on our website.
You're a genius.
I love that. Do you know who Robert Breedlove is? He's a Bitcoin author, and he writes on the philosophy of Bitcoin, and he really breaks it down at a philosophical level what money and currency actually is, and a lot of this, when you really break it down, is it's a time concept.
Then we trade the time ticket. That's what we do. We trade the time ticket.
Yeah, we got it.
Every time it's very difficult for me to talk about zero coupon bond and how we discount it. That's basically our core technology. And by using it, we do the lending and borrowing. And by offering the borrowing, we do the margin trading. We give as high as 10 times margin trading on our platform.
So I talked to Philip on Arcadico, and he was explaining the vaults, and I said, go as deep as you would like, because it reminds me a lot of coming out of the .com bubble, where you had to explain, well, what is a server? What is Windows OS? What is Linux OS? And then you got into the social media era, where you started to see some cloud computing. So you had AWS. Then you had to explain, well, what is cloud computing? What does it mean to host your servers in a different solution that's not on-prem? And now in this crypto world, we have blockchains where you can enable final settlement layers, but you can also have your infrastructure in a cloud-based solution, and you can also have serverless setups as well. And so I think just getting people comfortable.
What you say is about the education part, right? I think how can I say? With this, the original apps project on either on Ethereum or other chains, it's almost like it doesn't bother that there's no mainstream adoption, right? Somehow, like, you make it very difficult to use, or even if you go to those websites, you don't know what they're talking about. So I think we actually, Alex, in the leadership of Rachel, we are coming out with a whole marketing plan. We are currently having basically 3 milestones, right? So next Thursday is a demo day of the Stacks ecosystem cohorts. I hope you will be there, Z. So that's the first milestone. Yeah, we will be the first one. And then the second milestone of ours is our testnet, September 27th. And we would like people like you to come to test and to tell us your user experience. And the number 3, the third milestone, is our first mainnet launch. We will be end of November. And around these milestones, we are teaming up with our local partners, which means our investors, to do huge educational marketing. And I say educational marketing is that the contents behind. So we actually have quite a lot prepared in terms of articles. We are recording YouTube, etc., and we want to push out around these 3 milestones. So you will hear a lot from us. Actually, we are very surprised that you already know us. Rachel and I feel like we are still a little bit under the carpet, right? Like, let's just get this done first. Not only to Alex, the next version, but also for the vision that Rachel and I want to accomplish, right? So the way we look at different crypto is like different currencies, right? So Bitcoin, use Bitcoin, Ethereum, there are all these different kind of coins. But ultimately, if we want to achieve our vision, which is the bank for the bankless, financial services for the bankless, we do need to build the bridges to be cross-chain so that there's an interchangeability of a Bitcoin stacks, my Bitcoin, Alex token with others, right? So that's definitely is a work in progress, But that's the reason why we, Alex, have to grow with the stacks, with the Bitcoin, with all the ecosystem here around us. Because again, people like to say Rome is not built in one day. Well, I like to say Rome is not built by one person or two person here, Rachel and myself, right? Rome is built by lots of people together. Everybody do their, what they are the best at, and we help each other. And that's what exponential growth is about. So
using stacks and building your decentralized application on top of stacks, how has the proof of transfer consensus algorithm, how does that play into the way you build your application? Is there unique properties that you use for your application?
We actually just applied the POX into our tokenomics like 3 days ago, I guess. Yeah, because since you asked, because actually in the very, very beginning, we didn't consider POX at all. We thought we are DeFi, and we're just using the traditional DeFi tokenomics and liquidity mining and etc. things. We playing it that way, and we talked to Patrick from the Citicoin, founder of the Citicoin. Of course, you're from Freehold. So we talked to Patrick, and Patrick gave us a lot of suggestions, and also we start to think about POX and etc. things. We find it's actually make a lot of sense. So we start to pivoting our tokenomics. So now we actually incorporated the POX idea into our tokenomics. So I hope I have another chance to show you our tokenomics. We basically have this whole mining plan, and also how you can use stacks to mine Alex, and also you can stacking Alex to gain stacks and Bitcoin and etc. So yeah, that's how we are going to do the token launch. Chente, you have anything?
Yeah, Pat. Yeah, I agree. Patrick really opened our eyes, right? That session with him, Rachel, really opened our eyes, and now we really completely, I would say, embrace the POX concept in our tokenomics.
That's interesting. I have mined some Miami coin, and I thought,
good for you.
Yeah, well, now I probably won't be able to, because I'm seeing people trying to mine single blocks by sending 5,000 stacks or 9,000 stacks. So
what?
Yeah.
OMG. I'm telling you.
So that project
Patrick, yeah, I was telling him, and it took me a while, really. What I was tweeting on the Twitter is really from the bottom of my heart. Is that it took me a while to understand the beauty or the genius of this concept, right? Because there's just so much flaw in the traditional finance world. One particular flaw is how municipals finance their project, right? And then and really there are really a few issues. Number one is that a municipal's yield, or how much you can get financed, the cost of the financing is very much correlated with that particular country, right? So if you have a beautiful city, but the country is not doing that well, the financing becomes very, very expensive for that particular city. So that's number one. And number two is that many great cities in the world don't even have a market to go to finance themselves. And city coins could be really, if not the complete replication, but can complement the municipal financing market really well. But also in particular, I think is again, the flaw we know about traditional finance, that, the rating of the municipal city depends on the rating agency. Whereas here, if you have city coins, right, the rating depends on people, the community, how they rate this particular city and how they rate each particular project. So I think it's really true decentralized way of financing cities, and I can't wait to see how it grows. And Rachel got really excited about the city coin. So Miami coin, hopefully, as soon as we have the test net, people like you can start to utilize your Miami coin on Alex, make Miami coin work, right? Deposit Miami coin or lend Miami coin to earn Bitcoin, etc., etc., etc. So make that coin really like a currency and make it work.
I know you can do something. You can really use the leverage function of Alex. So I say you need 5,000. You just said 5,000 stacks, right? Then you can actually start with 1,000, take 5 times leverage, and then you have 5,000 stacks. And you to do the
and then you
stack.
go to mine it.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
Yeah. It's really something beautiful on the blockchain, especially the creation of flash loan is something really you cannot have in the conventional financial world.
It's crazy to think about what you can do with POX. Can you tell me about your experience in the Stacks Accelerator? Trevor is awesome. The team is awesome. Everyone, from what I've seen, everyone is supportive and wants to build companies the right way.
Yeah, it has been, just amazing. That's the first word come to me is amazing. And the reason why I'm saying that is that, and I'm sure Rachel will add on top of what I just said, is that, Rachel and I, we come from traditional finance, Wall Street. So we know what we are good at, right? We are good at, quant, financial engineering. We are good at, leading the business. We are good at connecting with institutionals, et cetera. And we are very hard worker. But I think what we are also good at is that we are good at knowing what we are not good at, right? So we too, especially me, Rachel has, I was not an entrepreneur. I was very mainstream, working with a big institution, et cetera, et cetera. So having an accelerator like this, particularly, Stacks Accelerator, is the following. Number one, they tell you what is the best way to avoid making big mistakes. And why am I saying so? So number one, what we learned, I remember, Rachel, you remember the first few sessions is about lean startup, right? Don't try to spend the money that you don't have yet, you mortgage a house or whatever, take out your loan and try to build a perfect product and then go out to see if there's any usage of your product, right? You got to do things in the way that it has to maximize your probability of survival and success. And I think that's really what we learned most from this accelerator is that, there's certain textbook that you could use already for the startup to minimize your possibility of failure. And that's what we have learned. So number one, we learned, that textbook version of how to build a startup. And number two is just the resources that they have provided us, right? They introduced many, many, many very, very useful mentors to us that give us access to them. So for example, we have a mentor, Rolf. He's like a master of token economics. The sessions we had with him, I would say just save us, I don't know how much money if we were talking to lawyers. And so number three is also the people who run the accelerator. And I'm talking about Trevor, Victoria, Grace, Alex, Andrea, right? I have never seen a group of people so hardworking like them. We are on DeFi side, so we are closer to Victoria and Trevor. I can't figure out what time zone they work. Every time we have a problem, they are there for us. And, this is something that we have never experienced before, that there's this group of, people who invest in, they are the first one who give us a check and say, okay, we are here to support you to maximize the probability of your success. Actually, think about it. I don't know how we could have succeeded without coming to an accelerator. So that's my personal experience. Rachel, how about you?
I totally agree. when we joined this accelerator, we're always laughing about it. We're just a sperm. I'm sorry, but that was May 21st. I still remember. That's the day we received the offer from Trevor. And today is September 4th. It's really 3 months. We grow this much and we grow so quick. It's really, I give credit to this accelerator. They give us, like Chente said, all the resources we need, all the questions we know who to ask to. So yeah, we had quite good experience.
Thanks for watching our short series, built on stacks, secured by Bitcoin. Thanks to Freehold and Trevor and the Stacks Accelerator. Zero Authority is a community of people who believe in open source and permissionless systems. Remember why you started.